St. Teresa of Avila always says, you've got to begin with the disposition to persevere in the spiritual life. All right. It's important to try to get to the root of your dryness. Is there anything that you may be doing that's causing this dryness, right? It may be attachments that you have, that your soul is so bogged down with all these things, or maybe one thing that's just preoccupying you, that you do not have any receptors available for God in a way, in your spirit, right? That's an important one to ask, because oftentimes that may be the case. And it may be also not just we have attachments, but I'm lukewarm in my love for God and my hope in God, in that I want the spiritual things above all. And usually that happens little by little, make little decisions here and there, like little imperfections. I'm okay with that. Oh yeah, I know that's a sin, but it's whatever. I'm going to, listen to these things I know that keeps me away from God. I'm going to be in these circumstances. I'm going to have a lifestyle that I know keeps me very dissipated and away from God. So that's important to analyze. But if we look at that and we're like, there's nothing that I can really think of, then you also have to accept that sometimes in prayer that God tests us with dryness. Or, not just testing, he may be pushing us to a more spiritual plane. Because that's actually what happens. It could be a sign you're moving into contemplation. I'm not going to get into that, but you actually need dryness in your passions in a way to be able to advance further into your spirit. That's what St. John of the Cross talks about, to enter into contemplation, into pure spirit with God that isn't connected to your passions. And when I say passions, I'm not talking about wicked passions that are of the flesh necessarily, but passions, think of like when an acoustic guitar is plugging, that inherently triggers certain feelings we have, right? That's why, a lot of praise and worship music, that guitar inherently goes to those passions. And that's why I caution, I don't think that it's inherently bad to have some music, outside of the liturgy that has guitar, like King David, had the lyre. That was a stringed instrument, right? And he praised God with that. But it's important that we not become attached to those emotions. And sometimes people get attached to that and then they get discouraged after. You see the cycle here, because they don't have those feelings anymore. And so it's important to know what true spiritual growth looks like in contemplation, where at times God may be pushing us to go further into greater intimacy with him in a spiritual way, right? So that's important. Sometimes we don't get those consolations, and it's an act of love and our will to move forward. But if you're dealing with lukewarmness, here are some meditations for you to consider, okay? So meditate on the shortness of life, on the eternity of life to come, and the reality that you could be damned and you need God. You may need to you may need to wake up to that reality. At times, we all need to wake up to that reality. In fact, I think on a daily basis it's good to recall that, to put everything in context. Further, you could be encouraged by the deep sense of purpose that we're in a fight for the salvation of souls. Don't be lukewarm because there are souls on the line. Remember that he died on the cross out of love for you. He redeemed us by his blood. There's no greater love or mission to take part of than being united to his cross through your own suffering, through your own perseverance out of love for him, to do his will. And certainly his will is for you to persevere in prayer. You know that for sure. So you can be confident and encouraged that God is providential over everything and that everything will work out for your good if you love him